We're on the phone today with Jimmy Tremor of the Tremors. They've been rocking and rolling ever since they got off that spaceship in 2003. How you doing today, Jimmy?
I'm doing all right, sheepdog.
And you're rocking out all over down there in North Carolina, right?
Right, North Carolina, and we play all around the South mostly and the East Coast, and just playing rock and roll, rockabilly music. And actually, we started in 2002 with the first Tremors gig.
You see, my information, sometimes I slip up.
That's the first release, I believe, was 2003.
2003, and now all of these releases, I believe, are available right there through your website, right? That is tremorsrockabilly.com?
That's right, yeah. Everything's available as a physical copy except for Scourge of the South. We sold out of that, all the physical copies a few years ago, but you can still pick it up on iTunes.
You see that, folks? They're selling out quick. You got to get to tremorsrockabilly.com. They'll infect your brain with rockabilly craziness. Now, the latest release was Demon Boogie Fever, right?
That's right. We did that in 2009, and I'd say it's probably the album we're most proud of. It's just we did it right, did this release right, and we're real happy with the sound and everything, all the songs we picked, and we're working on a new record right now, and hopefully it'll be out within the next year or so.
And I see you got a couple gigs right there locally coming up. But what kind of thrilled me when I was reading through your timeline on the website is that you actually had a chance to go out with Jesco White.
Oh yeah, we did that last summer. We went out and played a few dates on Jesco's Highway to Hellbilly tour, although Jesco himself was only at one of the shows. After the first night that we were playing in Charlotte with him, he decided to go home, and so we continued on for a few more days with Mamie as the drawing attraction.
Right. If people aren't familiar with the Whites, I suggest they should probably watch The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
Yeah, our Dancing Outlaw.
Yeah, Dancing Outlaw from PBS.
Yeah. And then you'll understand why Jesco didn't stay on the tour.
Right. It's a very interesting family, to say the least.
It was mayhem, without a doubt. It was a lot of fun. And it was just great to meet him, too, after seeing his movies.
Right. And I also see that you guys have played with the Necromantics.
Played with Necromantics. And one of the biggest names, and I guess one of my heroes we played with is Hassel Adkins. We played a couple of dates with Hassel Adkins, West Virginia one-man rockabilly machine, before he passed away. And those were wonderful gigs. And we also played up in Green Bay at an oldies festival, and Jerry Lee Lewis was there, and Wanda Jackson was there, and Ike Turner was there, and Sonny Burgess was there, and it was just a who's who of rock and roll.
Oh, that would be a great time. I spin actually a little bit of Jerry Lee Lewis every now right here on the show when I can.
Oh yes, Jerry Lee, my favorite.
He is a crazy cat.
He is. He's just, to me, the ultimate musician.
I don't even think he plans on slowing down as a thing.
Well, if you could rock like that, you wouldn't either.
That is very true. Now, we were talking a little bit before, and you were telling me that you guys actually ran Brain Drain Records. Why don't you give me a little background on that?
Started it up in 1998 was the first Brain Drain proper release, and it was a vehicle for a punk rock and roll band that I was in at the time called Ubangi Stomp. We were kind of a punk rock and roll punkabilly type band. Sounded a lot like a mixture of Jerry Lee meets New York Dolls, and we had a couple of releases on that label. And then when that band broke up, we just continued it on with the Tremors. There's also another band on the label called the Self-Made Monsters, which is a punk band from here in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Rockin' and rollin' down there in the South. And isn't that where all true rockabilly music comes from?
Well, I think some of the best comes from the South, that's for sure. But I've heard some pretty good Northern rockabilly. I'd say that Bill Haley rocked it pretty good. I've heard some good Northern hillbilly, in fact, from the late '40s. I can't even remember the guy's name. Bass player's been hanging out with his granddaughter or something. I don't know. I can't remember the guy's name though.
That's all right. That's all right. You know, hey, we all have mind slips.
But you know, there's lots of great rockabilly out on the West Coast in the '50s too.
Now we also get a lot of listeners from over in Europe, the UK, Germany, Russia, and lately I've been talking to a lot of cats into rockabilly down over in Japan, the Far East.
Yes, and the Tremors. We've actually sold CDs and records just about to all those places. And to tell you, the cats in Europe and Japan, they really know what true rockabilly is. You know, and they really cherish it. And I wish that more folks in the States did the same, because it's our cultural heritage. But you know, that's just music in the United States. We don't always appreciate our own culture quite as much as people on the outside.
What I've told people about our listeners out there is that they probably know more about music, whether rockabilly or psychobilly. They know more about the past of music than most listeners of other genres of music. Well, maybe besides country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they will go back and they will look at the early Sun stuff and stuff like that, you know, where you don't find that too much if you're listening to Lady Gaga 24 hours a day.
No, you got to dig for those kind of things. If you want to hear some good old Sun records or some Star Day or any of that great early rock and roll, you've really got to dig for it. And the great thing is, though, now in the CD revolution, there's a lot of it out there that when I was growing up in the 70s, you know, we didn't have, you know, we knew about Gene Vincent and Elvis and Jerry Lee and Carl Perkins, but, you know, we didn't know of Groovy Joe Poovey or Johnny Carroll, you know. And that's the great thing about CDs, is it's brought up a lot of these people who are either lesser-known artists or people who even had one jukebox hit that was a regional hit. It's made it it's financially feasible to put out CDs of these people and make compilations and release them. Whereas, you know, when it was just albums, that would have been a heck of an expense to go through to release somebody who, you know, had one record out in 1954.
Right, definitely true. And I'll tell people, if you're new to the culture, if you're just finding the show, you know, another good resource is YouTube. I love looking up obscure rockabilly.
Oh yeah, it's great to get on YouTube, and you can see a lot of great new bands doing the music, and you get the opportunity to hear a lot of great old bands too. And even if it's just a photograph of them while they're playing the record, you know, it's a great way to, and an inexpensive way of familiarizing yourself with a lot of great artists from the past.
Now, you guys kind of formed the Tremors there that came off from Ubangi Stomp.
Yeah, Slim actually had come over to the house to audition for the band, and I'd actually been playing with some guys and doing some rockabilly, and I just, you know, playing punk in North Carolina is a bit like hitting your head against the wall. It's kind of like beating a dead horse. Nobody really wants to come hear it. So I'd been doing a little bit of rockabilly, and to me, when I grew up in the 70s, you know, rockabilly and punk's pretty darn close, really. And I once heard Carl Perkins say that real late at night. He was on the I can't even remember the guy's name. He had a late night talk show, and Carl Perkins was on there, and he said, I can't tell any difference between you know, punk rock and rockabilly, except for the guitars are a little bit louder.
Well,
and I thought, you know, that's really insightful for him to see that.
Right, they're both kind of raw and real.
Right, and it's all about the a 2-minute song.
Right.
And making a song instead of just playing music, you're making a song.
And my big thing here is no politics, no bullshit, just rock and roll.
That's awesome. That's the way it should be. I decided to go ahead and form a rockabilly band and play rockabilly because it always been one of my great loves. My first record was Great Balls of Fire, and my mom had bought it in 1957, and I would just sit and play that thing over and over and over again, and I just love rockabilly music, and so I started performing it, and I saw that folks in North Carolina really had a taste for it, so I decided to put together a rockabilly band, and Slim came over, and I told him that, so he went out and got an upright bass and learned how to play it real good, and then Stretch came into the store Slim was working at, and Slim was in there listening to a little bit of Johnny Thunders, who all rock and roll fans love. He's our patron saint, one of them. And they started talking about music, and it turned out that he played drums, and we've had the same lineup now for 10 years.
Now, I'd also like to mention the website again, the TremorsRockabilly.com. You can actually preview a couple tracks off that new release. Well, not new, but last release, Demon Boogie Fever. There's a couple downloads on there. If the fans want to get kind of a feel, you got a preview of Your Wicked Heart and another song called Fuss and Fight.
You can go ahead and download those, and I believe there's a couple of songs maybe off the Invasion of the Saucer Men and maybe the Uranium Rock EP. I think there might be a couple of songs off those. They're in red. You can just go ahead and download them. You can go to our Facebook site. We've got a CD Baby player on that, and there's a few previews, full previews of some songs on there too. I don't know which ones are full previews and which ones aren't, but you can check it out there. And then we've got a few videos up on YouTube, and you can see us in action.
Now, you guys have the CD on TremorsRockabilly.com. It's Invasion of the Saucermen, obviously inspired by the old B movie, but it's in 3D. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how that came to be?
Well, we'd seen the movie, and we just were messing around writing a song, and it just kind of fit. And we put that out in 2006, and it's got a 3D artwork. It took me about a year to learn how to do that 3D artwork. The album was finished before the artwork was, but another fine brain drain release.
Invasion of the Saucermen put you up on the big screen in a movie called Hellphone. What was that experience like?
Well, they'd been doing some casting calls out for bands and musicians, and I guess they kind of picked us because we were kind of the one of the hometown favorites, and we also have a song called Late Night Drive-In Monster Show that they wanted to use in the film. So we went out there and filmed, it was real funny. We filmed our part, and then they brought people in to stand in front of us and filmed us some more, but Stretch had to go. So the scenes where people are dancing and you can't see the drummer, Stretch is not even in those scenes. You don't know that, but anyway, they play the whole song and in the film, and it's a fun film. And they had the debut here in Greensboro, and we got to see it.
What's really cool about that is they did play the whole song, because a lot of times your song will get put in a movie and it will be like chopped down to like 30 seconds.
Right, yeah. So it was real nice, and they actually, had some footage of us performing about halfway through the song, and they cut to a shower sex scene where the hellphone killed the lady.
There we go. We can't give away too much. We want everybody to check it out, to see you guys.
Yeah.
Of course, if you don't want to watch them there, on the website, they got all kinds of crazy Tremor videos for you to watch. And what do you think, how do you think the internet has changed the music business?
Well, one thing is that, of course, the big companies are scrambling because everybody's music's up for free. But for bands like us that, are regional type bands, it's been a great equalizer in helping us get our music out and giving us a place to sell our music and introduce people to our music. And it's really helped us out. Places like Facebook and MySpace, places like that where people come out looking for music, it's really helped us out a lot.
Well,
and,
I am all about playing the independent music and really telling the people out there, buy a track, buy the whole album, because there's a lot of hard work that goes into it when you're an independent band.
And there's a lot of great rock and roll being made right now. You just have to dig for it, because there's just no record contracts out of any major labels for any rock and roll artist. It's just, the age of rock and roll being the mainstay of popular music is over, unfortunately, but there's a great cult following of it right now, and there's a lot of great bands making great rock and roll music.
That is true, and we try to play a lot of it right here. And like I said before, we do have you linked up on the front page for people to check out your website. Our site's screamingdeadradio.com. You can hook up with the Tremors right there. Links to their Facebook, links to buy their albums, all kinds of crazy good stuff. Coming out with the Tremors, you said you're working on a new album, right?
Right. Right now we're recording out at Steve's House of Funk here in Colfax, North Carolina, and we've got about half of it recorded, and hopefully we'll be going back into the studio in the next couple of months and finishing it up.
Well, I'm sure as soon as it comes out, we'll spin a track or two off that also. And like I said,
we sure do appreciate you and any station that's, helping to keep rock and roll music alive. And
this show started out as a project in 2008.
Wow, and it's been going strong ever since.
Well, we really didn't get around to it until 2010. And the goal's really been just to really inform the public about the different new rockabilly, psychobilly bands out there, and maybe give them a little bit more insight and a way to find these great rockabilly and psychobilly bands.
Yeah, I like to hear about the performers and who they recorded for and the stories behind them, and that's great service,
Right.
That's why I like these Bear family releases from Germany. You get the whole story. They cost a little bit more, but you get 30 great tracks and a great CD booklet that tells you who played what on what track and everything. And I love rock and roll, and I love learning all I can about it.
Right, and every now and then I do get releases from people on bigger labels for what rockabilly or psychobilly is, bigger labels, But I always try to make sure to put the independent bands definitely by a break, so I can give out more info on them. Because of course everybody that listens and is up with the culture, they know who Mad Sin is. They know who the Meteors are,
Right, of course.
So So usually by the breaks, we get the good independent rockabilly, psychobilly bands. The Go Devils are from down around your area, right?
Sure are. We played a gig with them not too long ago. I think it was in February, maybe.
Great cats. I spent a couple of their tracks here and there.
Then there's another great rockabilly band around here called the Straight Eights. Fabulous rockabilly band.
Now that's one I might have to look up because I don't think I'm familiar. You know, obviously I've got to track it down just like all the listeners do.
Exactly. You just have to track it down. I hear a lot of people complaining and saying that, you know, rock and roll ain't what it used to be, and it is. It's just not getting the attention in the mainstream media,
right?
As it did in the 60s and 50s.
I try to tell people I think Reverb Nation is a great site, you know, to search down some of the crazy rockabilly music there. And, you know, I do consider rockabilly music to be real rock and roll.
Yes, it is. It's the original rock and roll. And, you know, there's a lot of guys working hard out there making it, and they're making really good rockabilly. And there's just a great psychobilly, rockabilly, rock and roll culture going on, subculture right now, I feel. And, you know, I go to these gigs here in North Carolina, and, you know, we just got a great group of people that come out to all the gigs, and it's just always a big party whenever there's a rockabilly show going on.
That is definitely true. I don't know if we'll ever have the big revival like we did in the 80s.
Right, yeah. I don't know that it'll ever be like that again, but, you know.
But there definitely is a movement.
Right, yeah, at least there's something going on, and, you know, the further we get away from where the age of rock and roll, you know, it's going to get smaller, but, you know, the people who are into it are more intensely into it and know a lot more about it, I feel.
Right, and I think it keeps it a little bit more true to itself.
Yes, definitely does.
Because we don't need any fakes jumping on board just because it's popular.
Yeah, they can do that with rap and stuff like that. They can jump on that ship.
Right, exactly. We'll leave that for the MTV culture, and we'll just keep rocking the internet and the live shows.
You got it.
Well, Jimmy, I'm going to wrap it up here and let you go. I just want you to know, when you're out there, make sure to get a little crazy and keep playing it loud for us. Okay, brother?
You got it, man.
Okay, once again, that is Jimmy Tremor. You can find them at tremorsrockabilly.com, linked up with us right there on our front page. And here they are rocking us out.